All right, so we just started recording. You're good?
hmm
Okay. I was actually doing some breathing right before you came on, so I'm feeling I'm in a good brain state here.
Good.
Okay. So grateful to have I'm sorry, let's start again. So grateful to have Kelsey Mazeski with me. We're talking about self care today. And again, welcome to the conference. And I
Thank
know
you.
I originally connected with your amazing work. I actually stumbled upon you on Instagram, and you were actually doing some chair yoga. And I saw your dog next to you, and I was so charmed by what I saw. And I actually needed some chair yoga. So I was so inspired by that. But Kelsey, when I actually got a little deeper into your connection to mindfulness and meditation, I got to know more about your story, and I found that very inspiring about how you originally got connected with this.
Sure. Thank you so much for that thoughtful introduction. And yes, in this work from home environment, everyone could stand to use a little chair yoga, which is, you know, really just stretching at your desk. But yeah, just a little bit about me. So I am a meditation teacher and a mindfulness facilitator, and I work primarily within the corporate world. So my mission is to really help um, high performing professionals live less stressed and more mindful lives. And so I ended up where so my journey with mindfulness and helping to share these tools and techniques to live that less stressed life, especially within the work world, really stemmed from my personal experience with a chronic illness.
Mm.
So I spent about a decade dealing with all these really random and bizarre symptoms, and no one could really find like that underlying link. And then in 2017, I happened and finally was diagnosed with late stage Lyme disease. And so while it was a relief to receive an official diagnosis, it was also frustrating to know that this is a disease that's really hard to treat and eradicate completely. So when I first received this diagnosis, I was definitely in a state of denial. I went back to work and was like, I'm fine. I'm just going to push through. And my body quickly made it clear that that was not the right path for me at that time. So I really deepened my meditation practice. And along with that came incorporating mindfulness throughout the day. So, in terms of, I think 1 in 3 Americans lives with a chronic illness, which is why I really love sharing my story and also advocating for more awareness around Lyme disease. But if you, I was worried that accepting this illness or this diagnosis would be admitting that I was resigning to a body that like I could not control. And mindfulness really helped me to recognize that I do have control over my thoughts and emotions and changing my experience in relation to external circumstances, right? So I really found that accepting my illness and it helped me being in control helped me to feel less stressed and that I had the power to make the right decisions to help me get through each day. And each day with a chronic illness really comes with a lot of uncertainty on how you're actually going to feel. But with mindfulness, I would wake up each day being like, okay, I'm going to maintain this sense of open awareness, observe what is happening within my body and within my mind, and notice any distorting or like unhelpful thoughts within that journey to recovery. And so that attitude of acceptance and really resilience just helped me to slowly improve and reach this state of remission and recovery that I'm in today. So,
Wow. So, how valuable to understand that mind body connection when you're going through such challenges and struggles. You really see the benefit of that, of really changing your thoughts and changing your thinking and how effective.
absolutely.
So then the corporate world. So then now I know you had this connection and this incredibly inspiring journey, and that brought you in terms of trying to reach out and meet the needs of the corporate world.
Yes. So I actually work for Deloitte. And due to my Lyme disease diagnosis, I had to take a 2 year medical break. And they actually saved my role for me, which was just phenomenal. So I was very, and I still am very grateful to be at such a large company with great benefits. And when I came back, so I'm now part of their well-being team. So I volunteer in my spare time to lead mindfulness and meditation sessions. I also In terms of like leadership roundtables, they bring me in to lead 5 minutes of breath work in the beginning, or just take a little mindfulness break and a quick mindfulness lesson in between sessions. So it's just the perfect blend of my mindfulness and meditation passions that I teach and share outside of work. And then it's just been an incredible opportunity to get to integrate this into my professional work and share these techniques with my colleagues.
Wow, which then brings us to the conference, which our whole focus is on trying to integrate daily self-care techniques. And you're sharing such powerful ways of just being able to meet our needs individually, attuned to what our needs are, and then have mindfulness techniques to meet those needs. So a great way to offer such valuable tools. Now, I know we have talked briefly in terms of morning routine and how important it is to have a mindful morning in terms of how your day may go for throughout the day.
Sure. So I have always heard about the benefits of having that morning routine, and I really only started incorporating those this past January. So, and I'm so glad I finally got around to that, because I have this mindset that I am not a morning person, right? And that is just my perspective on things, and I have the power to change that. So I now get up in the morning, and I get up a little bit earlier, and having that time in the morning to just ease into the day and take my time um, to meditate and journal, and then make some coffee, and just, it's so relaxing, right? And I used to be the type of person who would be up and like out the door within 25 minutes. And really, the ability to work from home and not have to commute has opened up this additional window of time for myself and likely many other professionals. So, and then I like to say that having a good morning routine starts with going to bed early the night before. And I need 9 to 10 hours of sleep, right? So it is really important for me. Yeah, that good morning mindful routine starts the night before. So everything is interconnected, right? And I also think, we'll get into this in a moment, but in the morning, not trying to scroll on your phone right away is a really great way to embody a sense of being, like in that moment and in your body, as opposed to doing and reading and like going into that analytical, like processing mindset as soon as you wake up, right? So morning routines, and even just for a few days, if you ease into it, like I used to just meditate for 5 minutes in the morning, then 10, then 20. And I think all of this is really a practice, right? Like, you don't run a marathon 1 week after training. You have to slowly train and build that mindful muscle and that morning routine. So I think sometimes people get a little intimidated by some of these self-care practices because they're unfamiliar, right? And just starting slowly, incrementally, especially when it comes to meditation and mindfulness. Like, I think there's like the myth about meditation that you have to do it for like a long period of time in order for it to be effective is a barrier to people who are starting out. So I recommend to like beginners, you start with like 1 or 2 minutes of meditation, or even just mindfulness in the morning. And that can look like thinking on 3 things that you're grateful for, or just doing a quick body scan before you even get out of bed. So there are a lot of techniques, and just starting your day on a note that's going to ground you and set you up for success throughout the rest of the day.
And for many, they don't necessarily realize that self-care can look at more healthy bedtimes and more healthy morning routines, as that can have its impact then throughout the day. And so many times, we are doing so much, especially before we go to bed. I'm guilty of this as well, screen time and doing all sorts of things trying to end the day, and not
Right.
really understanding how that's impacting necessarily my brain and body. And then during the day, trying to just, again, I hear you, creating space for ourselves in the morning. I
Yeah.
heard you say, about 25 minutes and out the door. Some of us are, 3 snooze button people in the morning kind of thing. So really just creating that space and being intentional about doing some mindful or meditation techniques for short periods of time. And I think that's an important takeaway. And then, Kelsey, throughout my day, I'm having challenges with multitasking. So here I am, I'm trying to juggle a lot of stuff. And I know that's bringing some stress on, because it gives
Mhm.
my challenges as I start to layer on more and responsibilities.
Yeah, and In terms of multitasking, so real quick, meditation, there's many different ways to meditate, but meditation is truly just focused attention training, right? So a daily meditation practice, even if it's for just 2 to 3 minutes, is effective, and you're starting to build that habit. So, hold on, can you hear my family in the background? Do you want me to restart? Sorry.
No, yeah, I just restarted recording. Go ahead.
Sorry. So one way, meditation is a really great way, even in small incremental minutes, to start building that habit and that muscle of concentrated focus. So meditation at its essence is just focused attention training. So when we do that a little bit each day, we're training our brain to just focus on either the breath, the body, or our thoughts, and then that translates to other times throughout the day. So I also like to tell people that, when you meditate, not a lot happens. Like there's no big wow moment or a finish line, but it's really what happens, the effect of meditation, how that unfolds on the rest of your day, that has the power to change your productivity, your creativity. So all those wonderful things. And in terms of multitasking, my partner and I were talking about this last night, how if you spend about 2 hours a day being distracted and multitasking, and if you're making $50 an hour, right? So that's like $50 per day for 365 days a year. That comes out to about like $37,000. So when I look at it that way, I'm like, when I give other people my distracted and unfocused attention, I am literally losing money. I am disrespecting my own productivity and the value that I can bring to my job, to other people. So when you kind of put numbers to it, I'm like, oh my God. So multitasking is the opposite of that, is what I like to call like single tasking. And when we single task, we respect our own time and effort and resources. And this kind of involves saying no to other tasks. And like often we just take on additional things because we're afraid to say no, and we're in this kind of like yes, yes, yes society. But when we say no, that is creating like recognizing our limitations, like setting those boundaries, and then creating that time of undivided focus to really just dedicate your time to the task at hand. And then just one more thing, I'll finish on this, is that a lot of people say that they do not have time to meditate, right? And like, if you don't have time to meditate for 10 minutes, then you should probably meditate for like an hour a day, right? That's kind of like the paradox of it all. But when you meditate, even for like 5, 10, 15 minutes, meditation, I don't know if everyone will agree with this, but like it gives you time back. And the fact that throughout the rest of the day, you aren't jumping around to the past or the future. You are in that moment and you are getting things done more effectively. And 47% of 47% of the day, our minds are wandering. And that wandering is what we are like biologically hardwired to do, but it also makes us unhappy. So by meditating, those benefits really transcend into the rest of your day. And we're more focused, we're more present, we do better work, and we respond and communicate better with others when we each have each other's full undivided attention. And there's just so much success and power that comes from all of these small incremental changes and the transformative effect they can have throughout the day.
And the neuroscience of meditation would suggest that our brains get into a much clearer thinking place, like you're suggesting. Our focus is increased, productivity is increased.
Yes.
And so, really, the value of meditation, but also what you were sharing, Kelsey, about the multitasking and how self defeating that can be. And that can be a new awareness for many people, that a belief system may think that multitasking is making them more productive by trying to juggle, when actually research suggests that the opposite is true. And with meditation, perhaps we become single taskers because we can clear out a lot of those distractions. Wow, such valuable stuff. Also, the habitual thing, the practice. I appreciate you keep mentioning how these types of techniques, they're going to need some practice the first time out. Sometimes it may be, if it's something different, may feel a little awkward, but to understand that we can actually, by sticking in there, that they can become habit. And if there's small techniques throughout the day, it doesn't take us a lot of time. It's just a lot more of a focus and intentionality. So maybe some techniques you think throughout the day, that mindful type techniques, short things that someone may be able to integrate into their routine.
So if you're a professional, or really anyone, I take that back. So mindful listening is a really powerful one. And I try and invite for people who are looking to incorporate mindfulness and like self-care throughout the day, start by being more mindful of activities that you already do. So that kind of takes the pressure off identifying a new habit or something else to incorporate into your busy schedule, right? So we all listen to our family or friends, like our colleagues, our bosses, all throughout the day. But when we listen, try and make a point of listening to respond, or excuse me, listening to absorb rather than to respond. And if you're doing this in person, I also like to encourage people to see what the other person is trying to convey beyond words. So mindful listening, and there's just, that comes from a place of respect. And if you fully listen, you may like have noticed things that you may not have before when you're checking your emails or your phone or thinking about what you have to do later in the afternoon. So just paying attention on purpose to what others are saying and what they're trying to convey beyond words. So mindful listening is one we can easily incorporate. And then single tasking, and then I would also say like taking little breaks throughout the day is a really great way to reset your mind, and taking kind of playful activities like movement or puzzling or listening to music, playing with your dog. Those are a really great way, like scientifically, that help boost your productivity and creativity later in the day. So, and I think just try and find a few minutes of an activity that you find to be fun. Like, it doesn't need to be overthought. It doesn't need to be hard. Just find something that you already enjoy doing and try and incorporate it throughout the day.
And it's all about staying focused on that activity, so you're absorbed in that moment, and you're in that moment during that activity. Wow, powerful suggestions. Thank you so much. And so I know you're going to also share some different 5 types of stretches that we can do at our desks, which is going to be very important for me. And we're going to actually, I know we're going to be sharing that in just a moment. But in terms of mindfulness and in tune to my needs or an individual's needs, and I know there's all sorts of different techniques. And so how can we maybe also, just to wrap things up, combine that with things like breathing and positive self-talk and some of the other aspects that we're going to be sharing in terms of understanding the mindfulness of that?
So mindfulness, I like to think of as like an attitude towards life, as well as this habit of like training your brain to be resilient and recognizing that, like, what I think about, like, when you are exhausted or frustrated, I like to remind myself of like, I am exhausted for now, right? So mindfulness reminds us that everything is transient. This feeling, this sensation, this mood, it is temporary, right? And so when we recognize that things are temporary, it helps to use our breath as a way to center us in that present moment, because that backs up and gives us control of what we're experiencing. And if not control, it just helps us to step back and kind of separate us from the feeling or the thoughts that stressful situations might be causing us. And often when I lead meditations, towards the beginning, I invite people to observe their emotions as if they were looking from the outside within. So mindfulness is a deliberate and focused way of looking at your present experience. And you're just more present in what's happening in your mind and your body, and focusing on your breath is the easiest way to do that. Our breath is always there for us. It's like the fundamental rhythmic uh, like process of our life, and we forget that our cadence of breathing is what tells our brain what state, whether we're in that like fight, flight, or freeze response, right? So when we slow down the breath, we regain control of basically our autonomic system. And we take that, like, it's kind of empowering to say, okay, I can take 3 rounds of really deep breath, close my eyes, put my feet flat on the floor, and recenter myself, remind myself that what I'm doing is likely eustress rather than distress. So being able to recognize the different and then making a conscious and deliberate decision on how you want to proceed from there. So
Wow. Thank you, Kelsey Mazeski. Thank you so much. Appreciate and grateful for this conversation. Again, looking forward to those 5 different types of stretches while I'm sitting at my desk. Thank you and good luck
thank
to you.
you. Thanks.